You're back with us here on RT International for more news. Afghan officials say at least 80 people have been killed in just 5 days of a Taliban offensive in the southwest of the country. There have also been reports of the beheading of 12 civilians who were said to be relatives of police. The attack was carried out by an estimated 700 Taliban militants. Ghazni province serves as a key link to the southern and southeastern parts of the war-torn country. Let's get the thoughts of Ahmed Qureshi, political analyst and president of Pakistan's first political lobbying group. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Qureshi. There had appeared to be some political progress happening with a new coalition in place. Does this Taliban offensive put things in a different perspective?
Well, I don't see any stability coming out of the recent political changes in Kabul. Frankly speaking, with even the Americans brokering now sort of a new coalition government in Kabul, that government continues to be very weak. We're yet to see how it's going to operate. We're yet to see any improvement, frankly, in how the Afghan government is controlling the Afghan police, the Afghan military. Certainly in the area that you just mentioned, where the new Afghan Taliban offensive is taking place, we're hearing reports about the Afghan military really not coming up, really stepping up to do something on the ground. The police is there, but it's also very weak. So I think it's yet to pass a judgment really on how effective the recent political changes would be. And this offensive is certainly appearing to be taking the center stage, despite the changes that we're seeing right now in Kabul.
So having said what you've just said now, no improvement, police or military, not enough to take hold of the Taliban, could they possibly then take over the whole province?
Well, the region, the area, the province that you just mentioned, Ghazni province, this whole eastern part of Afghanistan continues to be very unstable. And the writ of the Afghan government, the Kabul government, continues to be almost non-existent in this region. And these groups are taking, again, as I say, center stage more and more. And it's not just the Afghan Taliban. We have a very disturbing development right now. The offensive that you just mentioned, I think we're seeing now the infusion or the insertion of new type of militants who are imitating the ISIS terrorist group in Iraq and Syria, with beheadings and so forth. The Afghan Taliban, of course, just a couple of months ago in July, posted a warning on its website, a warning directed at the ISIS, asking that terror group in Syria and Iraq not to be this much brutal, and tolerate dissent among Muslims and so forth. But now we are seeing some groups in Afghanistan and some militants imitating this group, and we're not yet sure whether these are the Afghan Taliban or not. And it's very disturbing to see that children and women have been beheaded in this offensive that you just mentioned just in the past week. Who is doing this? Are the Afghan Taliban doing this? Are there some breakaway faction within the Afghan Taliban that has decided to link itself up with the ISIS? These are just questions that even Afghan officials and security officials are asking, and it's a disturbing development to see this happening. But all of this is happening simply because the Afghan government is incapable 13 years down the road, despite the full support of the Western allies, the United States, NATO. Complete failure we're seeing on the ground.
So copycats could be eminent around there in Afghanistan. But what about the Afghans openly blaming Pakistan for the worsening security situation? What are those allegations? Where are they coming from, and are they true?
Most of the, if you were to check this, most of the people who accuse Pakistan are basically linked to political factions or Afghan warlords who have a stake or had a stake in the government of President Karzai, and would continue to be in power with the new setup now after the elections. And these are the political factions or warlords who have failed miserably to stabilize Afghanistan in 13 years. And I think Pakistan is an easy scapegoat. And I think if you look at Pakistan is suffering its own wave of terrorism and grappling with many problems. I don't see, I'm sure Pakistan would always have an interest and would be looking over the shoulder at Afghanistan, but I don't think that it would be fair to say that much of the instability we see right now in Afghanistan is of Pakistani creation. I think it's an indigenous failure.
We're going to have to leave it right there, Mr. Ahmed Qureshi, who's been giving us an analysis of Pakistan's first political lobbying group and president. They're talking about the situation, the instability in Afghanistan.